Well, morning everybody. Good morning everyone. It's Monday morning, pretty early still. I've been up a few hours though, so I've had a couple of coffees. And I was at the Broome Courthouse Markets yesterday for our Saturday and Sunday. A little bit better, which is good. The guys are all rocking up to Broome, which is, yeah, it's busy. It's getting busier, so it's good. It means we need to get more work done, more table runners and yarning mats and t-shirts. So yeah, a couple of the guys came down actually to the markets yesterday, which was great, and it's good to see them participate. Actually, we're talking to customers and explaining their own art, which was, like I said, it was great. I don't know if I'll redo all this or not. I'm just sort of going with the flow. As you know, that's what I do. This is where I'm sitting is actually another little private space that we have in our home, and this is probably where I'll be setting up the one-on-one counsel sessions of alternative healing. I had a good question given to me, and it's at the moment it's the big thing, especially with mental health. Mental health is definitely finally getting the attention it needs, which is fantastic, especially in the Western world, all focusing on it, which is, yeah, like I said, I know I'm repeating myself, I apologise. So yeah, this room is for that kind of private one-on-one space. And yes, these trees are inside the house, which is nice, but the midgies also love them. So, yeah, so the question I have a spiel when I'm down there. I talk about how that, you know, there's 13 members of the community and the Jugon, the Yaru, independents, and that we've all come together to recover from mental health and drug and alcohol rehabilitation, and that we have, after 5 years being under the health system, have decided to go independent. As a facilitator, I felt they were all ready to do that, and the difference of being independent, as I'm sure I've said through these other videos and blogs, is they get to make more decisions. They also get to understand their own independence and, yeah, have that kind of freedom to just be themselves without any boundaries or restrictions that are respectfully part of the health system. Like I said, I'm not here to change the ways that people work, because it does work for some people. So I can't generalize that I think it's a bad way or a good way. But what I found with the type of alternative healing that I do, I don't think that, so basically the question was, explain to me what lived experience is. So I believed the health system are starting to really embrace the concept of lived experience, peers that have gone through the experiences as well as recovered. It's important that they're not still in their trauma. Yeah, sure, everyone, like even myself, I still go through emotional points. Things will still spark something in me, but through my 11 years into my 12 years of recovery, I've learned to firstly really take a breath, which, and not let that fuse, but it still does spark sometimes, to not let that fuse just erupt. And you then use some techniques to be self-aware of what the emotion is, what did just trigger it, and then dive into my lived experiences to see a comparison of how I had dealt with it 12 years ago to how I am dealing with it now. So a lived experience, I think it's vital that they are already in their recovery. If you're still dealing with your trauma, and all the other attributes that come with lived experience and things, then you still need guidance. You still need that kind of healing and help to get you through it. So, like I said, the question that was given to me was, so what is lived experiences? And so a lived experience peer is, well, as clear as it is someone that has experienced one or two or all the different, attributes that happen in our lives that we are confronted with and that can cause us to take journeys that we didn't expect we would. So, there are so many different things that we can attribute to lived experience. It's simply your mental health, traumas, loss, what else there's abuse, addiction, and just survival and learning to find your own sense of security. You've also got parenthood. So there's some women's issues. These are ones that I have no lived experience in. I have many in the other ones, but there are obviously some that I don't have experience in and have to imagine rather than understand. So to use all of what I have in my lived experience, plus my knowledge and awareness of my recovery, then that's what I use in my alternative healing. I use creativity, activity, and emotional well-being to be my foundations to any course or workshop or assistance that I give anybody. So going back to lived experience, a lived experience can happen to you at birth. It can happen to you when you're 2 years old, 8 years old, when you're an adult, when you're a teenager. A lived experience is something that you've gone through, collected, become aware of it, and then embraced its knowledge and experience. So to celebrate in a way rather than remorse or be held in its darkness or that feeling that some emotions can cause, and to step out of yourself and see yourself as knowledge, I think is vital to a peer educator or peer worker. So where I was leading with that was, I'm grateful and proud that the health system is embracing this idea. They're now really understanding that it's vital for people going through a lived experience, needing the trust and reliance of someone that has gone through it and doesn't have the professional side, like taking over. My inspiration from this is maybe eventually in my life I will train in the medical side of this. In fine arts we learned a little bit about philosophy and psychology, that there were segments to that, but to actually take counsel work or that through an education, it's possible, but it's not necessary for what I do. Like I said, if this wasn't successful, I wouldn't keep going. And it was something that I never expected to do. I never thought my worth could help others in my experience and knowledge. But the longer I did this, the more empowering I felt and the more rewarded I felt to see such achievement from the peers of mine. And yeah, it's funny, it's also get me quite aware of where people are over the hill to recovery rather than still being in their either addictions or trauma and still trying to face some of those. There is a point where you become a person in recovery rather than an addict or emotionally imbalanced, or all of the different terms that we have with mental health, depression, anxiety, all of those sort of things. So there is a difference. So when I notice the members, I would say out of 13, 11 of them are in recovery and 2 of them are on the top of the hill, ready to go. And what happens sometimes with them is they'll get pushed back a couple of steps from outer influences. outer influences was a huge thing to, in certain aspects of lived experiences, it's a huge thing to dissolve and let go of. You may feel your outer influences are your family and they're the ones that really care. They are feeling exactly the same, and unfortunately it's a no-win situation. If you stay within that circle, your energy just reflects and bounces, and it's virtually impossible. For you, like for addiction, you're sitting at home and you're recovering off alcohol, you're recovering off drugs. The influence can be like that. If you have a family member walk in and hand you a drink, or a lot of your friends are going to go out partying and pop eckies, and you're trying to be strong and not to. It can just take one little bit to just go, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. So it's the same thing, and unfortunately my lesson of that experience was, and people say don't run, but run. Change your lifestyle, risk the whole thing that you're in. The thing that is taking you and swallowing you up, you risk, and you have to separate yourself from it. Life is going to reflect these lessons to you further down the track. But even though life is quite hard with its lessons of reflection, it does have sympathy and empathy. So it will allow you to give you that time to strengthen and to have that courage to face. But it comes in surprises. You're not gonna be ready for life's test on, oh, okay, have you finished this bit? Are you really recovered? Did you just run away from this experience? Here we go, we're gonna drop someone in front of you that you're gonna love and like, but they're gonna be an addict. Things like that. And you won't be warned. And you might relapse, and you might have to be confronted by these lessons many times. But if you really become aware of that and take your breath and learn of your own purpose and things like, and what you can give the world and what the world can give you, then the more strength you gain, the more when something is confronted that you can put your no deal up and block things that and be aware of the emotional imbalance that you're gaining from those things. So I suppose that's how I sort of explained it to the question that was before me yesterday at the Broome Courthouse Markets. That, and I know I keep avoiding the little bit, because I don't want to be pessimistic and negative towards the health system. I do have a bit of a towards it, because even though they're embracing this idea of lived experience, as professional people, they have no idea. They don't. They have an idea of medicate, of counsel, of how you listen, of how you protect yourself, and all these different rules which are fair enough and should be used for particular people. So to embrace lived experience, I don't think they're ready. I really don't. I think they're close, but I think just as much as some of their patients and clients they fear, someone with that experience as well as the knowledge and awareness of it, I think confronts them a bit too much, and it does take them out of their safety, safety, whatever it's called, and I think it. In a way, I think it actually confronts their own lived experiences that they've not had to look at themselves. I think sometimes their system and their clinical side of things can be a bit of a disadvantage for their own humanity. And when it's reflected through, i.e. someone like me, I think it can sometimes be a bit confronting. And for that I apologise, but as a lived experience person and a peer, and someone that is now embracing alternative healing, I can't apologise for who I am when I especially see when it works for the people that need it. The people that are asking for it, and the people that have taken that step to say, yes, I want to be where you're at. And to see that reflection and that trust that they give me, then I give them 150%. 100,000,000% of who I am, because it's something I've always been very proud of, is the fact that through my lived experiences, starting at the age of birth to the age of 30 something, for me to be where I am right now is virtually impossible. And I can say that with complete pride, because I think I'm a very, very rare experience, and I am very, very, and I'm sure there are many more that have reached where I've reached, and seeing what I've, have seen. I'm not saying I'm the most amazingest person to have survived my experiences, but I am very unique, I'm very rare, and that I'm alive today after many, 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 many close near encounters. It's still, I still pinch myself that I'm not only alive, but I'm thriving. I'm absolutely in my bestest state. My emotions I'm actually playing with and touching now and trying to draw in are being humble and content, and yeah, I think the true meaning of pride as well, to be confident. I'm always extrovert, but being extrovert doesn't mean that you're confident. So I think those are my positives. My negatives are still my short fuse. I find my passion can spark anger still, which I'm more now into compassion and empathy, but some things still, when you cross my line, I seem to just go into a rage, and it's a man thing, it's a woman thing. We do it both, and we both do it in very unique ways. But my fuse, I tell you, it makes me, what I'm really proud of though, is when instead of being proud of that, which I used to be, when I was confronted by fear or anger, and I could diffuse it with my strength and my experience, I used to be really proud of that, like, ugh. And now when I do it, I'm just in shame, because I learned that when I focus on someone that I feel is being inconsiderate, that are using their energies disrespectfully, my fuse just focuses on them and then becomes so inconsiderate to the rest of the world around me. I don't see anything that's around me, and it's what's around me that can be affected by it more than the person I'm trying to diffuse and bring down and stop and go, no, you have no power over me, and all that. So yeah, that's my toughie one, because it is so much rarer. 11 years ago, within my experiences, it was like that. If I had a strike mode in me. If you crossed me more than twice, you then got an emotional, physical rage out of me. And I would then just completely disown people, completely burn bridges, destroy my whole world just to make a point, which is just mental. By the way, I shouldn't use words inconsiderately as well, but like, far out, we're human, and if I use a word, I'm not being inconsiderate. I'm using it on me. I'm not using it on a general aspect. That's another story. That's a rabbit hole. I'm not going there. But yeah, so going back to my journey of my emotional wheel, they're the ones I'm looking at the moment, and I'm working through them. I was really proud that I could be in shame, be embarrassed, and remorseful for my action. So I had one not long ago, which but it lasted 2 minutes. But that 2 minutes affected me for the next 3 or 4 days. I felt spiritually muddy, if that's the best way. I felt I had let not only the world I had inconsiderately forgotten about in the moment, but myself down. And then after the few days, I realized that I should feel proud that I was aware of that, and that I tried to find within myself a solution to diffuse the fuse, really. So, this has been long, and I don't know, maybe I'll cut it up, or maybe I'll just keep it raw. I like my stuff being raw. You know, it'd be good to know from you guys if these are actually, you know, interesting or not. You know, I know I'm still a bit rigid or quirky and, you know, pausing, using words too many times, all the things that we say, got to fix that, got to do this. I don't know anymore. Like, you know what I loved about a certain phase of writing? It was the Beat Generation. Amazing. So you had like William S. Burroughs and Jack Kerouac, and what I loved about them is that in their revolution of writing, they confronted the idea of editing. And I loved that, and they called it prose. So to have prose, like Jack Kerouac, he wrote On the Road like on one roll of paper. Like, did you know that? Like, it's crazy. Like, he just wrote it. He didn't think. He just went through and channeled and used his imagination and didn't worry about what the world thought. And the book itself, I love it. It's great, but it's that movement behind it that for me, it inspires me and makes me think. It's this kind of stuff that helps people change. And like when I discovered the Beat Generation and prose, I was in the middle of a heroin addiction, but it helped me dive into this dichotomy of being an addict and also then being creative in my uni, and then doing fine arts and pushing these boundaries that had nothing to do with my trauma and had nothing to do with my addictions. And it took me on a pathway that led me here. And that's what I love about you know, creative healing and alternative healing, is things are not as what they seem. And they're not as simple as checking a box and going, okay, so this person feels this, they did that. And it's like, if you check boxes, you're checking another part of them into another box. So you might be diffusing something else or making a solution of something else, but you're then restricting the whole self. And that's, again, that's something that I look at with my members and the people around me. My family, myself, everybody. It's how I live. I try to see the spirit, the soul, and the individual person in there, because genetically there's a lot more than that. Now, cheers. I'm gonna have I think this is my third, but it feels like it's hitting me now. So maybe after that little bit of dribble, maybe I won't edit it. I'll just throw this on now. And it's longer. This is my longest one, but I think I said enough. What do you reckon? You know what? Love is all that are watching this, and I really appreciate your support. I've had many of you like talk to me and tell me that they're great and all that, and that they're being followed, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the support, and thank you for all of you that are supporting me, and thank you to SKC. None of this would happen without you guys. I know you say, oh, but if you didn't do this, Brent, then none of this would happen. Well, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. For you to have faith in me and believe in me makes me want to give you the world. And hopefully some of you I will see achieve amazing things. And if I've contributed to that and helped you, then that's all I need. I don't need anything else. I don't. This, sitting in front of a tree that's in my house, is my heaven. And I've been there a few times and back, believe me. So after that drill and that, I'll say see yous. And should I throw some edit crap on the top of this? Well, we'll see. But I don't think I'm going to cut it up though. And to anyone else that's only just started, I hope you do the story. I think the story is important to see where this is going, and hopefully soon you'll get to meet some of these guys a bit more personally. Like I said, I've got to take my time with them. I can't pressure them. I tested little bits of video through the workshops, and I could sense the different kind of levels of these guys that are ready to express to a camera. So we'll see who I feel is ready to have a little chat with, and hopefully you'll get to meet them all soon anyway. So, all right, see you guys. Have a good one, eh? Have a good week. It's going to be a good week, I feel. It's going to be a good week. June's coming. See yous.